We begin the Gemara today on Daf Pei Beis Amud Aleph, 9 lines down from the top of the Yamud, where it says Asara Takones. Because the Gemara here brought before Hamshach to the Mishnah that in Eretz Yisrael, Yeshua was misaken not to raise small livestock to ruin Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, the lands, the territories of people. And then we brought that there was 10 takonas, or maybe even more than 10 takonas that Yeshua instituted when he came into Eretz Yisrael. So now the Gemara brings also other takonas that were instituted later, also in Eretz Yisrael, when Yidden came to Eretz Yisrael. Sagt the Gemara, Asara takonas tikkun Ezra. There were 10 things Ezra instituted when he came to Eretz Yisrael. When Yidden came after Golas Bavel the second time to build the second base of Mikdash, so he instituted 10 different things. Shekayrim b'mincha b'Shabbos. The first is that you should read from the Torah on Mincha by Shabbos. And v'kayrim b'sheni b'chamishi, that you should read from the Torah every Monday and Thursday. And v'donin b'sheni b'chamishi, and that the Bezdin, the courts, should be open on Monday and Thursday, available for everyone to take care of whatever matters they need. People would come in then from the outer villages to hear Kriyas HaTorah. So since everyone comes and is available here then, so they instituted to read from the Torah then. Umechapsim b'chamishi b'Shabbos, and to wash your clothing, to be prepared for L'Kovet Shabbos, to have beautiful clothing. So he said it should be done on a Thursday, not on Friday. You're too busy and then you don't get a chance to do it, so it should be done on Thursday. V'oichlin shum b'erev Shabbos, and you eat Friday night garlic. And the Gemara will later explain the reason for this. V'shetehei isha mashkemes v'oife. A woman that's baking bread should get up early in the morning and bake the bread. And simply, this is Rashi here says it's in order to have available bread for poor people that may come around even early in the day, so she'll be able to give for poor people bread. Or others say that it refers to Friday actually, L'Kovet Shabbos, to bake bread early, or bake challah early in the morning. V'shetehei isha chaygeres b'sinar, that a woman should be wearing undergarments for a purpose of tznius, as the Gemara will explain. Or there's other opinions that this refers to apron, but this is Rashi's pshat. V'shetehei isha chayfefes v'teveles, and a woman before she's tevel, so she should comb her hair to be sure that there's no chatzitza, there's nothing, no dirt or no knots in the hair. That should be a kosher tefillah. V'shiyur reichlin machzirin ba'ayares, and peddlers should be going around in the cities to sell perfumes and other things like that for the women, so that they should be able to be beautiful, and no one can stop these peddlers from coming into the city. V'tikkun tvila lebalikarian, and he also instituted tvila for a balkari, for one that has a seminal emission, that he should be tevel before he learns Torah. And this last thing it adds over here, v'tikkun, even though all of this is takanas, because this last takana of Ezra was something that the Gemara says that later it wasn't necessarily kept. This was though an original takana, but later on they said that divrei Torah ein mekablan tumah. The Gemara says in brachas that words of Torah are not mekabel tumah, so even without tefillah you could learn Torah. Sheyiyu kaidim b'minchas. Now here the Gemara is going to go through now in detail all the different takanas that we just said and explain. So it says Sheyiyu kaidim b'mincha b'Shabbos mishum yeshvei kronis. This that he was masakin that on Mincha Shabbos you should read from the Torah is for those people that are yeshvei kronis. So Rashi's pshat over here is the people that all week are in the stores and they're busy with different things and they don't have time to learn Torah, so they instituted for them extra time that they should come to shul and they should hear Kriyas HaTorah. Another pshat that it says is, the Rishonim say, that Shabbos afternoon is a time when no one can work and everyone doesn't have what to do. So they instituted especially that they should come back to shul and hear Kriyas HaTorah. And also, V'shiyah Kairim B'Sheni B'Chamishi, that you should read from the Torah on Monday and Thursday. The Gemara, Ezra Tikkun. This is something that Ezra instituted. This is something that was already instituted from before. Tanya, as we learned in the Braise, and this is actually a pasuk in this week's parasha. After the Yidden, after Kriyas Yamsov, and the Yidden traveled in the Midbar, and they traveled for 3 days, and they didn't find any water. So what does this mean? The ones that darshan the psukim. The shumais refers to psukim, Rashi says. Others say the shumais means when you have something which is closed, and it refers to psukim that are not necessarily understood. So they would darshan these psukim, and they said here as well, Amru ein mayim ela Torah. When it says here they didn't find water, what it means is it was 3 days after Kriyas Yam, so they didn't have any Torah. Shanama, where do we see that water is Torah? Someone that's thirsty should go to water, and the water there in that pasuk is referring to Torah. So when they traveled 3 days without Torah, so Nilu, they became tired and thirsty. Or Miyad Nilu, the Bach adds, immediately they were looking for Torah. So the prophets amongst them got up and v'tiknu and instituted for them that they should read from the Torah every Shabbos, and then umafsikim be'echad b'Shabbos, and then you don't read on Sunday from the Torah, but then v'koyim b'sheni, you read on Monday, umafsikim shlishi revi'ah, you don't read on Tuesday and Wednesday, v'koyim b'chamishi, and again on Thursday you read from the Torah, umafsikim erev Shabbos, and you don't read on Friday. And the point here was, so they shouldn't be 3 days without Torah, like it says there that there were 3 days without Torah. The Gemara's lashon is interesting. Omnu neviim shebeneim. So who's the neviim shebeneim? It refers to Moshe Rabbeinu, together with others, but it was primarily Moshe Rabbeinu. He was the greatest navi, obviously, then amongst the Yidden. That's the pshat that most Mefarshim say. But others say what the Gemara here means to say is that based on this pasuk, Omnu neviim shebeneim, later on, and instituted based on what it says here in this pasuk to read from the Torah. But this was way before the times of Ezra. That's the Gemara's question. So the Gemara answers, yeah, this was instituted before. But originally, Tiknu, the institution was Chad Gavra, that only one person reads from the Torah, Tlas Psuki. All he reads is 3 psukim. Inami, or maybe we could say a different version, that originally the Takana was Tlas Gavri, Tlas Psuki. 3 different people would read from the Torah, and they would read just 3 psukim. And what were the 3 psukim? Keneged Kayanim, Leviim, Yisraelim, corresponding to Kayan, Levi, and Yisrael. Then also Ezra came and he added to this. Tikin Tlasa Gavri, he instituted that you should read, 3 people should read from the Torah, Vasara Psuki. And you read the minimum of 10 psukim from the Torah. And what are the 10 psukim? Keneged Asara Batlonim. Corresponding to the 10 Batlonim, which the Gemara says those are people that don't work and they just sit and learn Torah all day and daven all day. So the 10 psukim correspond to those people that are always there in shul davening and learning. Then it says that the courts should be open on Monday and Thursday. Why dafka Monday and Thursday? The shchichi, the asal mikra, the sifra, because that's the time when people came from all villages around to hear kriyas hatayra. So everyone's here then. So that's when the courts should be open and available for them. And then v'shiyah mechapse b'chamishi b'shishi, b'chamishi b'Shabbos, that is to launder the clothing on Thursday. Yishom kavod Shabbos, for the honor of Shabbos, to have new fresh clothing for Shabbos. V'shiyah oichlin shum b'erev Shabbos, and to eat garlic on Friday night. What's the reason for this? Mishum aina. This is for the mitzvah of aina, marital relations. So the garlic, as the Gemara here will bring, is beneficial for this. It says that a person gives his fruits in the right time. When is this? What does this refer to? The marital relations from Friday night to Friday night. That's the proper time. In other places it says that this is the Aina for Talmud Chacham. Here the Gemara is saying Bechlal, this is the right time, and therefore then to eat garlic, this is helps for this. As the Gemara here brings, Tana Rabbanan, we learned in Abraisa, Chamisha Dvarim Nemru B'Shum. There are 5 things that it says about the benefits of eating garlic. Masbiya, satiates the person. Umashchin, it heats up the body. Umatzel panim, it makes your face shine. Umarba zera, it adds the seed of the person. That's the connection to what we're talking about over here regarding the aina. And v'hoidek kinim shebibnei mayim, and it also kills parasites in the person's intestines. V'yesh shaimrim, and others say machnis ave, it brings in love into the person. Umoitzi sakina, and it takes out jealousy. Because it brings in a person, it brings health and to a person's heart, that it could be besimcha, Rashi says, so therefore it takes out all jealousy. Okay? So you see, they say today, right, how beneficial garlic is. So you have it right over here in Chazal and Torah about the benefits of garlic. The next thing it said was the shetei isha mashkemes va'oife kedei shetei pas mitzuya la'aniyim. So here, the Gemara says that it should be available for poor people. So I mentioned before, either this means every day, it's mashma and Rashi, that you bake early in the morning so poor people come, or others say this refers to having available for poor people for Shabbos. That a woman should wear undergarments to protect herself, mishum tznius, to be A woman should comb her hair and then tevels, not to have any knots or any chatzitza in the hair. So the Gemara asks him this halacha that she has to tevel and have every hair in the mikveh without any chatzitza, that's minat Torah. The Tanya, as the pasuk says, that you should wash and tevel in the water. So it says as besare. From this we learn out there should be no chatzitza between the flesh of the body and the water that she tevels in. Now, when it says as besare, what is the extra s coming to teach? Es hatafel lebesare. Even the parts of the person's body which are tafel, secondary to the body itself, which are the hairs in the body. So that also has to be fully, totally inside the mikveh. So we see that this issue of chatzitza is not just regarding the body, but also the hairs. So what's this takon of Ezra dafke? My new sayers, it says it refers to the hairs. So Amri, they answered, the Iraisa minatayre li'iyuni. It's enough for a person just to inspect the hair, to look to see that there's nothing inside the hair. Dilma miktar, maybe there could be a knot in the hair. Inami ma'os, so maybe there's dirt inside the hair. Mishom chatzitza, so there shouldn't be any separation inside the hair that separates the water from the body or the hair. Va'asaihu, and then Ezra came and tikkun chafifa. And he instituted that regardless, it's not enough just to inspect the hair, but you have to comb the hair properly in order to make sure that there's no chatzitza. Okay, another takana was to allow peddlers to go around from city to city to sell things. And what are these? What are they selling? They sell various different things for the women, perfumes and things like that. In order that the women should not become repulsive to their husbands, they should have these perfumes that they need. And the tikkun tefillah lebal kerion, they also masakin that a man that's a bal keri should tevel. So this Gemara also asks, isn't this minat Torah? The chsev, as the pasuk says, v'ish kiseitze mimenu shichva zera v'rochatz es b'sorei b'mayim. The Torah says that he has to tevel in the mikveh if he has a seminal emission. So the Gemara answers that letrume dairaisahu letrume v'kachemasa. The term of a kachim, that is. Minat Torah, the reason why that it says that a person has to tevel in the mikveh if he wants to eat truma or kachim. Also, Ezra came along and tikkun afil divrei Torah, and he instituted even just to learn Torah that you have to go to the mikveh first. Okay, now this is the conclusion of what Ezra was misaken. Now the Gemara says other things that were instituted regarding the city of Yerushalayim. Or this is not actually things that were instituted, but 10 different things that were said about the city of Yerushalayim. Asara dvarim nemru Yerushalayim. There were 10 things that were said about the city of Yerushalayim. Ein abayis cholud ba, a house that's sold in this city. So usually the halacha is a house that's sold after a year. If it's in a walled city, after a year, the seller cannot redeem it anymore from the buyer. You have a year to redeem it, but after that, the sale is done and you can't redeem it anymore. Now, Yerushalayim is a walled city, but nevertheless, the house, even after a year, it's not cholot. It's not, the sale is not complete that you can't redeem it anymore. And also in the city of Yerushalayim, when you find a dead body and there's a halacha of egla rufa, so this doesn't apply to the city of Yerushalayim. Ve'ena nasis irani dachas, a city where you have most of the people that serve the Avodah Zarah, and then you have to kill the people in the city and so on. It doesn't apply to the city of Yerushalayim either. Ve'ena metame b'negoyim, and the halacha of a nega in a house in Yerushalayim, there's no tumah of negoyim there either. Ve'emetzizim ba zizin uguzustrois, and you shouldn't build a house with a beam sticking out into the public, or a porch, or any kind of balcony that hangs over into the public. And then, and you also don't designate garbage dumps in Yerushalayim. And also you don't have kifshenis, which are the keels where they make the pots and different things like that they make over there. It makes too much. Gemara will soon explain all this. And you also don't designate areas for gardens and orchards. Besides gardens that were for veradin that they grew there, which is, Rashi says, called kippus hayarden. This was something that grew by the Yarden. This is something that they actually used for the ketairis. So they needed it for the Beis HaMikdash. Shahayu mimais neviim arishainim. That already from the earlier neviim, they had it planted and designated there in Yerushalayim. Ve'ein megadlim ba tarnegaylim. You also can't raise any chickens in Yerushalayim. And ve'ein malinim ba sameis. person passes away in Yerushalayim, you bury him that day. You don't wait overnight. Okay, so the Gemara goes through all these details of what's the source of this. Ein habayis cholud ba. The house in Yerushalayim, so if you sell it, it doesn't, the sale doesn't go through and it's not an effect that you can't redeem it anymore. So the chsiv, because the pasuk says, Bava Kama bayis asher lo chayma latzmisos, when you sell a house in a city that has a wall around it, so after a year, so the sale remains forever to the one that bought it, the dereis of all future generations. That's a house that's sold in any city in Eretz Yisrael. But a kusovar, the Tana of this Braisa holds, Yerushalayim is a place, nobody has any ownership in any of the properties in Yerushalayim. It wasn't divided, it wasn't given to anyone. Who owns the properties in Yerushalayim? Klal Yisrael. It's owned by everybody. So nobody can really sell any property in Yerushalayim. You can maybe sell the house itself, the bricks, the mortar and bricks, but the actual property itself, you can't really sell it in Yerushalayim. So therefore, even after you sell it to someone, you can buy it back, you can take it back. There's no sales in Yerushalayim. And there's also no halacha of egla arufa there. It's based on the same point. It gives it to you as an inheritance. And so that means that it's given to a specific shevet as an inheritance. But Yerushalayim, which is not given as an inheritance to any shevet, so you don't have the mitzvah of egla arufa there. Also based on the same reason, regarding irani dachas, it says your city. It has to be a city that belongs to one shevet. Yerushalayim does not belong to any shevet. And the same thing regarding v'negoyim. In a house that's in the land that you inherited, Yerushalayim was not divided for the shvatim. You're not allowed to build a beam or a porch that hangs over out into the public, into the Rishus HaRabim. Why not? One reason is because if you have this overhang into the Rishus HaRabim and you walk under it, so then you're under a tent, you're under a roof, which creates a tent, and then if they're there with any dead body or anything, there could be a tumah. And we don't want to add any extra tumah in Yerushalayim where people eat the karbanis and so on. That's one reason. Another thing is also and when you have these protrusions or these overhangs that stick out into the Rishus HaRabim, and there's so many Eilei Regalim that come and travel, we don't want anyone to get harmed by this. And you don't make garbage dumps in Yerushalayim. You don't want all creatures that are tamei to be attracted there, to come there in Yerushalayim and to add tumah in Yerushalayim. And you don't make these kivshainis, the keels where they make the pots and pans and things like that, mishum kutra, in order to create a lot of smoke. Rashi over here says the pshat is that the walls of the cities, of the houses of Yerushalayim will become black and dark, and it's not beautiful for the city of Yerushalayim. Others say that this is because of the smoke that there was in the Beis HaMikdash, of the Ketaitis. They didn't want there should be any other smoke that goes up in Yerushalayim besides the smoke of the Ketaitis. And also there's no gardens or orchards, mishum sirche, in order not to create any bad smell that comes as a result of the work that's done in these gardens. And you don't raise chickens in Yerushalayim. This was brought already in the Mishnah. We explained it before already, mishum kachim, because of all the kachim that's eaten in Yerushalayim, and the chickens, they are always by the garbage dumps, and they can bring something which is tamei and cause more tumah. And the person that passes away, you don't wait to bury him until the next day. So on this, the Gemara says Gemara. This is a tradition we have that this was the minig in Yerushalayim, and it doesn't explain why dafka in Yerushalayim, but this is the custom in Yerushalayim. And the chiddush for this is the truth is really anywhere where a person passes away, you're supposed to bury him right away as soon as possible. But on other places outside Yerushalayim, if it's for the covet of the maze to wait for the levaya, for some other people to come, you can wait until the next day. But in Yerushalayim, they don't wait no matter what, even if it's a covet or this or that, they bury right away before the night. Okay, now going back to what it said in the Mishnah before they brought this up that night, correct? Sure. Ei megadlim chazirim, you don't raise any chazirim b'chol makom, anywhere. This is not only this anywhere. The Chazal masakin not to raise chazirim. Why not? So this was based on a story that happened. Tan Rabbanon. We learned the story that happened. Keshutzaru beis chashminoi ze al ze. So in the last period, before in the second Beis HaMikdash. So the Chashmonaim were the ones that ruled over the Eden. And then there was a certain point when there were two sons of a king, the Chashmonaim, that they were fighting with one another. Who's going to take over the kingdom? So what happened was, these two brothers, they were Horkenes mibifnim, Horkenes, so he was inside the city of Yerushalayim, Aristobulos mibachutz, and Aristobulus was on the outside. That's the version that it says here in our Gemara. This story is brought in a few places. In other places, it says the opposite. Horkenes was on the outside, and Aristobulus was in the inside. Now, in that time, the Roman Empire was already very powerful. This was not long before the Churban, like 150 years before the Churban, or something like that. And each one of these brothers was trying to get the support of the Roman Empire to be on his side, to appoint him to be the king over the Yidden. So, B'chol Yom, every day. So what happened was, so the brother that was on the outside, with the support of the Romans, placed a siege on the city to force his brother to give in, that he should be the king. And every day, so the ones that were on the inside would lower down over the wall money in a box for the animals that they needed for the carbon in the Beis HaMikdash. And they in return would over the wall bring over the animal that they needed for the carbon tamid every day in the Beis HaMikdash. There was one elder amongst them, and he understood Chachma Yavanis. Amalehem, he told them, the Romans that were there, that were helping them out, put the siege on Yerushalayim. He said like this: as long as you're going to continue this custom, you're going to allow the Yidden to bring the carbon tamid every day. They're never going to be given over into your hands. So the next day, so and from the inside, they sent out, or they lowered down money in the box to pay for the animals for the carbon, and and instead of giving them the animal needed for the carbon, so they gave them a chazer, and they were raising up this chazer to bring over the wall. When it reached halfway through the wall, it stuck its nails into the wall. And then v'nizdaza Eretz Yisrael arba meis parsed. The whole entire Eretz Yisrael shook 400 parsed by 400 parsed because of the Chilul Hashem that there was over here, that there was a chazer that was being sent over for a carbon. But it was at that time that they said that cursed is the person that raises chazerim, a pig in Eretz Yisrael or anywhere really. And then they also said another thing: cursed is a person that teaches his son Chachma Yavanis, and that was this individual that learned Chachma Yavanis, and because of that, he had a bad influence to tell them what to do. And it's also regarding that time that it says that time when there was the siege, it was placed around Yerushalayim, and they went and they destroyed all the areas near Yerushalayim. What they usually used to bring the carbon oimer from there, and also shtei alechem. So they had to bring the carbon oimer from a very far place, from Ginas Hatzrifin, and shtei alechem also they had to bring mi bikas ein seichel. Shtei alechem is a carbon that's brought on Shavuos. So instead of bringing it from a close place where they usually brought it from, so it should be fresh and good, they had to bring it from a very far place because everything around was destroyed over there. Okay, after this is when the Romans took over the rulership of Eretz Yisrael, but this was still about 100 or 150 years before the Churban, but the Romans took over the rulership of the Yidden already at this point, and then later on, this led to the Churban. Simon B'Tayv.